We're recording. How you guys doing? You're supposed to start.
I'm doing good. Yeah.
That was a good start.
At Waza.
So we have Ben Bergeron, coach, CompTrain, CF&E. Very, very dear friend.
Yes. It's been a long time.
And Marcus Wilson, founder of NOBULL. Very dear friend.
It's been a long time. All around.
Yeah.
When did you guys meet? I actually don't know this.
The first lunch we had was at, not Shake Shack. What's that place called? Smash Burger.
Smash Burger.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Isn't that where you were like, why are we here?
100%.
Yes.
He may have even said, so what's this all about?
Kind of like I'm saying right now.
Exactly.
Oh, that
Full
makes
circle.
sense now. Where you're like, yeah, pretty normal.
Yeah.
So, but to give you backstory, well, we'll go to the story. But Ben just asked if we had an agenda, which we don't. In fairness to Ben and Marcus, you two super busy guys. I'm sure you haven't watched our podcast yet. Thanks a lot. But anyway, it's just friends catching up. And, I want to, obviously link how we met and our story and just talk about what you guys are doing overall. But so anyway, but that's how we met. We met, I called Ben in what would be 2013 probably.
Man,
14.
I'm not good with the years, but somewhere around there.
It has to be 13 because it was the 14. No, you're right. What was the first ECC that went to the World Trade Center?
Oh, that's the
World Trade Center.
I think that was 14.
So yeah, then it was 13.
Yeah.
Because I sort of like
you helped us out.
Inserted myself into that. Right?
Yeah. What's fun for me is that
he's like he's trying to do the math. He's like, these guys are all over the place.
But I talk to you both individually all the time, but the three of us never actually get a chance to hang out. So I'm really curious about.
It's awesome because I think like we're all doing things very separately and we've done a lot of things together, and the stories all tango really well. Like you were at that ECC, not even selling anything. You were just set up your concept and maybe pre-selling shoes, right?
Yeah, that one was in 2015.
Yep. Okay, so that's the year after.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
this
I remember
is why you wanted to plan.
But I do remember the 2014 regionals.
Yep.
Because that's where you and I first met. And that was, you remember the T-shirts, the CF&E T-shirts with the NOBULL logo on them, which was like way before we thought we were going to have more things going on.
It had the horns on the back.
Yeah.
This was at Reebok. So.
Yeah,
in Canton. Yep.
100%. And I was at the time doing Redline, which you guys wore the shorts. And that's crazy. Oh, amazing.
That only took us 5 minutes to figure out.
We figured it out.
There we go.
So we do know
let's
each other.
start recording now. We're ready.
Right. So this is the Loud and Live Sports Podcast. Again, Ben and Marcus. So what's going on? What are you doing here? We're at Wadapalooza, obviously Friday. It is Friday, right? I should know that.
Yeah,
yesterday, what's funny is like yesterday we were talking last night in our meetings with the staff. It was like, it felt like Saturday night to me from my experience last year.
Well, in terms of like the energy and the amount of people, I was expecting, because it's the first time you had a Thursday event, right? Thursday kind of go live type thing.
Yep.
I was expecting like a skeleton crew. I was expecting kind of like you go to like the vendors and the booths still being set up and like a competition kind of going on the side and walk in. It's like, no, it's like full go. There's more people here on the Thursday than there was probably at any other sectional I've seen on any day. It's pretty wild.
It was wild. Yeah, we're so now this is my second
really
year.
Cool event last night too. That was
Did you like it?
Yeah, the race.
Cool.
Anytime that there's anytime you don't need to look at a clock to see, and you're just like literally like the turtles racing to the end in slow motion. It's like who's beating who instead of like what's the time. Look at the leaderboard. No, it's really cool when you get the visual of the race like that.
Did you think it was too heavy?
No.
Cool.
I think switching to because we had some rain last night, and the really cool audible on the fly of switching to a front squat. The thing I found really interesting was I think the front squat walking lunge is harder than the overhead, which I didn't anticipate that.
No,
but all of a sudden you put it on people's shoulders and you're lunging forward, it automatically collapses you. Where it's overhead, that weight stays over your midline pretty nice. You didn't see anybody kind of like midlines giving out, and I wasn't expecting to see that even with the bumped up weight. But man, people had a hard time with that last one. Well, not too heavy though, because it's only too heavy if people game the bike. Yeah. And people didn't game the bike. Gaming the bike didn't pay off. So no, it wasn't too heavy.
They taught, like, we asked a lot of them after, because they saw it as an opportunity when it went to the front rack to
go harder.
Yeah, by the way, we've tested the contingency because we needed to know what we would do in a situation like that.
Good for you guys.
We wanted that to be less weight. The athletes chose to they said, let's go. So we were going to take weight off.
Why did you pivot? Because of the
rain. Yeah. So, Dylan got together with those guys on the floor. And
they asked him. That's what we
care, and we want them to be involved. I think it was important. Yeah, I mean, that can be dangerous in sport. Like, hey, what do you think?
But it wasn't too heavy because the first guy off the bike won the workout.
Right.
So how's that too heavy?
No, I know. I think they were surprised in general, though, because
it was surprising. Okay. So we don't want to surprise people in the sport?
Right.
What was the weight?
235.
Oh, it was 230? I thought it was 225.
235.
That's too heavy, dude.
It seems too heavy.
Do you know that your event, ECC, inspired a little bit of that?
Well, that we had the buy-in into the walking lunge with the cuts, same thing.
And that, I remember at the time...
We did it with bar muscle-ups, though, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember at the time when seeing that workout, and I was like, Ben's batshit crazy. That's so heavy. And it was like 165, 175.
Back then, that's a different sport back then, though. That was 7 years ago, or whatever it was, 6 years ago.
It's crazy. So, yeah. Anyway, but you inspired that a little bit.
Well...
You inspired.
That's nice.
Talk a little bit about your relationship. I want everybody to hear this. I don't know if it's been out there. You may have podcasted together before or done interviews. I think it's fascinating. I know a lot of it, but casual observer that is listening to this that doesn't know what talk about your relationship.
So I have a very clear memory of at least one of the first interactions we have. I'm very curious if you remember it the same way. But I had met Ben way back, and this had to be 2009 or something like that. 2008.
We've already established I'm not good at figuring out years, so I'm gonna just take yes.
So it was not through. I had not even heard of CrossFit at the time, and I was involved with a startup that was called Idea Paint. It was like a dry erase paint, and so you could replace whiteboards with it and all this stuff. And that's how I met Ben. And I got into startups at that point, completely naive to what that meant. And then all of a sudden, I'm working constantly, not eating right, like just Ben talks about spiraling up or spiraling down. I spiraled down. And one morning, I'm like literally putting on my sock and hurt my back. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. What has happened to me? And I was like a college athlete, all this stuff. And I literally that morning went to CF&E, walked in, saw Ben. And I was like, he said, are you okay? I was like, no, sign me up.
He was coming to CF&E to whiteboard our walls with paint.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he was like one of the big guys at the company. He was coming in to check out the space. Like, what are we gonna do here? And then he's like, all right, sign me up.
I've never heard that piece of it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a link.
So we were one of the prototypes places that they were pitching this idea and like beta testing and kind of getting in the market of Idea Paint, the whiteboard paint on the walls.
That famous CF&E wall.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that it just so happened I lived near CF&E. And I knew nothing. It was the first time I met Ben. Didn't know anything about CF&E, and then I started getting into CrossFit, and I'm like, it really got hooked and started to get dialed in, and people just kept, crushing me. And I'm looking over my shoulder, and this was 10 years ago, and there was a 50-year-old guy just killing me, and it was Brian Curley, who that year won the games in the Masters division. And then I look around, and there are people, and it's like the team. It's the year the team won, and so there's all these realizations, like, wow, there's something really special about this place, and it's been a really
maybe I'm not as unfit as I think I am. I'm just like surrounded by a bunch of monsters.
Unfit. I think everybody's had the Brian Curley get your ass kicked by a moment, right? It's like, who is this guy?
I can't keep up with this guy.
The problem is mine was when he was 60. So it's like, who is this guy? No, it's played such a big part in my career, life, and certainly the space in general, right? You too. I love hearing that. I didn't know it was an idea paint start.
Yeah.
I mean, that's super interesting. And I mean, you still go to CFNE on a daily basis, right?
So I moved. Ben's like, no. So I used to live 15 minutes from there. Now I live closer into Boston, so it's like I go out and it's a commute. So Ben and I had a really nice rhythm going for a while that I have no longer fallen through.
Where we bro sesh all the time.
Tuesday morning bro sessions.
And we do the 6:30 class and then just lift afterwards, and it was a lot of fun. And also, it's a great opportunity for us to catch up and talk business, life, family, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. And obviously, I look at the two of you, and I'm sitting here, I'm kind of like, as I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, similar storylines, starting, putting in a lot of hard work, and you started with, a single gym affiliate. I mean, you were coaching somewhere else first, right? Like you were like I know you had your moment, and you transitioned into it, and then CrossFit was like became your channel, but very similar. And I mean, it's like the song I started at the bottom, now I'm here. The rap song.
I don't know that song.
Yeah, well, you should learn it.
You should sing it for us.
No, I'm good. Yeah. Nobody wants to hear that. But I mean, I'll sing your praises. You're two of the most humble people I've ever been around in my life. But I mean, you guys are skyrocketed, and you're doing phenomenal things and grown, and both have global brands. I mean, what is that like for you guys? I mean, honestly, like I get to travel more than anyone, and I know the impact of both of your work on the world of this space. Do you ever think of that? Do you ever try to put that in perspective for yourself?
For me, it's been interesting because so Ben and I met back in 2009 is what we've established, and it was before NOBULL, before any of that stuff. And I used to be the head of brand strategy at Reebok, and after I left there, I was in venture capital, got into the whole startup world, and Michael Schaefer, my co-founder, and I would get together, talk about starting something. And once we thought about a training brand, but we thought we'd be able to get it off the ground really, really quickly. And so we started with an agency. And we came to Ben with this idea, which was, hey, we're going to start a training brand eventually, but right now we're starting an agency, and oh, by the way, we're going to launch a brand that's like a cold water surfing brand. You want to be a part of it? And Ben was like, it was really interesting. Ben's like, I don't know about all of that, but I believe in you guys and would love to be a part of what you guys are doing. And so then, so Ben joined us, right? And so Ben's a partner in NOBULL, and we've been kind of growing ever since. But for me, once we first got started and really digging in, it was interesting no matter where in the world I went. And this is like back in 2014. No matter where in the world I went, people would ask me, where do you train? And as soon as I said CrossFit New England, it changed the whole conversation. And so there was a credibility with CFNE way back that I don't think Ben realized at the time, because it was, I mean, I would be in Sweden, in Italy, wherever it may be, and everybody knew about CrossFit New England. And then with CompTrain coming online, it's gone to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can do a CompTrain workout anywhere I am by going to a gym. I think that's the most fascinating piece to me.
Yeah.
And I've always told him that, forced him to even travel once against his will to Italy, but we had a great
I remember
trip.
seeing that one.
It was just, but it is like I remember the aha moment for the CompTrain piece for me, and it's a similar one for me with NOBULL, but was being in a gym in Paris, Louvre, CrossFit Louvre, Daniel Chafee's gym, and going in and like nobody spoke English, obviously, but not the coaches sometimes will be able to speak both. I really like taking a class in a different language, and because it's a lot of the movements are in English, so it's easy to follow. But I just think it's fascinating.
Thruster.
Yes.
Kettlebell swing.
And funny enough, you grew up. You lived in Paris. We'll talk about that after. You lived in Paris.
I did.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Yeah. J'habite à Paris pendant un.
There you go.
Look at this.
That's the only thing I can say now. For real.
You said it so well. If you just left it at that, everybody would have been.
But that was. I walked into Louvre and was like going to jump into class, and I was like, I think that's CFNE and CompTrain's workout today. Like I knew what the workout was because of the app or like on the vlog or whatever. And I was like, holy shit, like that's crazy. And, it's the same. I think I would text you sometimes and be like, hey, I'm in Italy. I just saw a pair of NOBULLs. And it's like,
yeah, it's really cool to see.
It is.
I think I attribute it more to the space than anything that we're doing that's extra special. I think that the space is, meaning the CrossFit space, we got started in it in year 2009. I started in 2006, 2007. And back then it was really small. So when you were talking to the community, you talked to the entire community. It started online. We started with this viral aspect to what we do, where if you saw somebody doing something, everyone knew about it like instantaneously. Right. And I think it's a credit to the way our space is set up, that these shared best practices just kind of emulate and go across like wildfire so fast. It's when we started this whole thing, there was no assault bikes, there were no D-balls, there were no prowler pushes. But all of a sudden you start to see like, ooh, these things work. Like how fast are those adapted into the space? Well, it's the same thing for good programming, and it's the same thing for good apparel and good shoes. Like when they see something that works, they see something that they relate to, and they see something, it's like, whoa, that makes sense. They're one of us. This is going to be meaningful for me. Like let's go. They're one of us. And I think it's a tribute more to the community and what they represent than anything that we're doing that's extra special.
Yeah, it's truly a community.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And you see it with what you built here, right? Like I was, I had a friend that just came down to visit. He came for the day because he wanted to see what this was. I just introduced you, Pete.
Oh yeah,
from the gym. He came down here for the day. He came down last night. He's leaving today just because he wanted to see what this was. And he's like, he's never been to an event. I'm like, hey, we don't have trade shows. We have Wadapalooza. Like, this is what we do. This is where we get together. This is our trade show. And how much cooler is this than it's outside? He's like, every trade show I've ever been to, I'm in a suit. He's like, I'm walking around in NOBULLs.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is business
casual.
There we go.
This is business casual to the next level, right? And there's a bunch of like super cool people and a bunch of crazy athletes throwing down. It's like, it's a really cool thing to be a part of. That, it's easy to get excited about being a part of the community like this.
There's just so much positive energy. Just all around.
My experience here, you're a part of that too. Like we came here, I think you came here for your first time with me. We stayed together. We did that terrible workout where you made us run up the stairs, and at every level we did the number of burpees on the floor.
We stayed on like a 15-story building.
No, stop. It was 18 stories, okay? And those last 3 count more than anything.
Run to story number 1 burpee. Run to story number 2 burpees. And by the time
sounds easy till you're hitting the teens.
I remember somebody texting me like, where are you? I'm like, I'm blacked out in the stairwell with Bergeron. We stayed in that Airbnb.
We had like 9 people staying in this like 2-bedroom.
Oh man, we were here. Of course.
Harry slept out on the porch because someone was snoring.
Dan DeLombo. Yeah, literally slept on the porch on an air mattress.
That happened to me and Michael once. We were in the very early days. We were out in California, and someone let us stay in their extra room. And I woke up in the morning, and Michael's in the living room. I was like, "What happened?" He's like, "You were snoring."
You happened.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know you snored.
People get really angry about other people snoring.
Yeah. Oh, I would get angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you might have been angry at me once or twice for this.
Yeah.
We've shared a room. Yes.
Yeah.
No, they.
But to go back to like that story of us getting together with when Marcus and Michael approached me about becoming a part of the company, the brand, the agency at the time, I really I didn't have the vision that they had at the time. They were talking about an agency. I'm like, guys, I don't really see. I don't know if I see this. I do think a training brand in the space could work. But if you guys pivot, I know what you guys. I got super excited about them, like the passion they brought and the dual strengths that they brought. Michael, the super amazing creative, Marcus, the incredible branding and business. That combination together, you could see super early on how special and how different what they were doing was going to be. Where everyone else was looking at how to shift a product, they were creating a brand. Like, what's super cool is they literally created a brand, as you said, created a brand, put out content, created a following, went to events and had a booth without a product.
For a year and a half.
Without a product. Showed up at the games and let's create this feeling, this vibe. It's more about what we stand for and who we are. No excuses, hard work. You do it. It's not your shoes, it's you. That ethos is super easy to get behind. And man, it was super exciting to see somebody that put the brand first and the why, not the what. Now they have the what to back it up, which is, just makes it go so much faster and so much farther. And
it was funny because that happened because we had to, right? It was one of these things. And in those super early days, Ben would just throw us the keys to CF&E because Michael and I would go in there late at night, 10 o'clock at night to 1 in the morning, practicing
to do night shots, cool lighting,
photography, and Michael in those early days did all of our photography.
I don't think a lot of people know that, which we do. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so he taught himself photography and created the visual look and feel of the brand. But it was at CF&E late at night, early in the morning, practicing shots. And I'll go back and look at some of these things, the posts, just some of those things. It was about the mood, to create a mood. There are times I'd go down to Michael's house and we'd be out in his backyard in the middle of the night taking photos, and his wife Amy was just laughing at us. And we're trying to figure out kind of exactly the look and feel. We had a very clear kind of view in mind. But it's really funny to think back to kind of why those things happened, because it was we needed to move forward and product was taking longer than we expected, and so that's kind of what we led with.
It sounds so no one does that.
It's not that simple.
It's not that, no one goes hey, let's push the product back a little bit and let's work on what is that we want to stand for? What is the imagery and the feel and all the rest? That's not the normal place. Everyone else goes let's create a widget and let's price it at this and let's go for this market, and they start with that instead of who are we? That's really cool. And then the second side of that is once we got the product and it was at the games that one year, we're all excited.
2014.
We're at the 2014 CrossFit Games, and we're gonna launch and we're gonna bring NOBULL to the world, and this is the games, and there's no bigger spot, no bigger venue. We've had such a long run up to this moment, over a year in the making, waiting for product. And you guys, I'm there coaching the athletes, but you guys pull me the day before the games. We go and sit in the empty tennis stadium, and you're hey, we're not going to do it. We're not going to launch. We got the product, and it's just not up to snuff. It's not something we're proud of. And that's not, again, easy to look and be oh, okay, so they got product. No, this means you're waiting another 6 months to a year to get the thing launched again. While you're funding the thing by yourself, it's which is why I knew that these guys were the right guys. Let's wait for it to be right. Let's wait for something we're proud of. We're not gonna put something out that we're not. It's a cool, super cool, unique approach that speaks volumes of what NOBULL's all about.
It's a lot easier to reflect on that now.
Yeah, it sounds like nothing. It's a super high stress thing, right? Imagine you having Wadapalooza ready to go, everyone's ready to show up, and you're you know what? We're not ready.
Hey, don't. We're stay out on the street.
We're gonna do this next year.
I remember that moment at the games. That obviously Rachel Martinez was the athlete, and I was wait, they're not really. I mean, and that has to be.
You had athletes, like it's.
Yeah.
That was a moment for me that, you know, stuck out. We've talked about it before, but was that the moment where you were like, okay, this thing is like going to be wild?
No, it's because you're like, wow, this thing might not work at all, because we've been waiting so long for something to show up, and now you're saying it's going to take another 6 months to a year before we do anything. It's the opposite feeling at that time.
Yeah, and it was one of those things. In those times, we were setting expectations, and in the early day, I mean, you know better than anybody when it comes to manufacturing for a startup that hasn't generated any revenue. Working with factories, one, finding a factory to work with you is really hard, and then two, being a priority to them is impossible. So they would.
How about a shoe factory?
Yeah, exactly. So they would say, "Yeah, we'll have it ready here," and then another order would come in that's bigger than ours, and then we get bumped. And so it was like, delay, and it kept coming back to Ben saying, "Hey, here's where we're going to have all this stuff," and then it was like get delayed again, and then to be at the games where we expected to have product for Rachel and others, and then and not to do that, and then also there's no momentum at that point. You're trying to get the momentum, and so there was just lots of. It was tough, but it was absolutely the right decision. And the thing that made it easier was we knew it was the right decision, but it wasn't. It was painful for sure.
When was the first? Now I know when Rachel and Allie, Bushy, now Leard, and you all got the first pair. I can literally visualize it in CFNE when they were like taking them out of the box and putting them on. Was that an ECC thing? When was that?
It was pre-ECC, so that was we were literally building out all the box jump boxes for the launch at the ECC. So it was a couple of days before the ECC.
Okay, that's why.
And I remember I went up, and Michael lives on the South Shore, which is nowhere close to CrossFit New England. But I took product up there for people to see, because we finally had at least prototypes, and so that was in January 2015.
Very cool.
And then athletes wore in a competition. I remember Heather had a pair as well.
Heather did, yep, 100%. What's and it's been that, and then the clothing was very similar. It took a long haul to come out. I remember the first pair of pants, and the materials were always great. They were tight. Your crotch hung really low. That was my 40th birthday present from Ben.
Was it?
Yes.
I love that.
At my surprise party was a pair of NOBULL pants.
There we go.
Yeah. I mean, they're I live in the new sweatpants. Like, I go home.
The new apparel is just so good.
Last night, go home, shower, and put those pants on.
Yeah,
make the room as cold as possible.
See, I do it the opposite way. I wake up, shower, put those pants on. That's my work attire.
Oh, I know. What's and I think this is for both of you. What's next for you guys? What are you doing? Like, where are you going? I mean, that is a big question for two guys like you with so many things that are going on. Each individually, like, what's next for NOBULL? Like, where does NOBULL go from here?
I was hoping you were going to ask Ben.
Yes, go for it.
So he needs more time to think. No.
So, first of all, we're just having so much fun right now, and the team is growing. We're over 80 people now, and it's just a fun group. Of people who are just super enthusiastic, really kind of do whatever needs to get done. Like the whole build out here at Wadapalooza, watching that come together has just been phenomenal. So for us, it's just like, not losing sight of what got us here. So continuing to grow within the broader CrossFit community, and we're seeing organic expansion into other areas of training. So we are and will always be a training brand. So we've got some really incredible new running products that are coming out. A lot of really exciting footwear and apparel that we can't really talk about right now, but will be out later this year, that we're really fired up about. So you're going to see the brand kind of rounding out into other areas of training.
Very cool. Go ahead, Ben.
So for CompTrain, we're not expanding outside the space. We're doubling and tripling down inside the space. So we know who we are. We know who we're talking to. And it's people that live, breathe, and die this CrossFit thing and the competition side of thing. What we want to do is help people get to the next level. And whether that's help people get their first handstand push-up or be able to be the fittest guy in the 6:30 a.m. class, get them to be in the top 200 for a Masters in the Open, get them to qualify for an event like Wodapalooza, or win the CrossFit Games. What we are doing is trying to really put a lot of emphasis into the person using this. It's not like the thousands, it's Jim in Iowa. We want to talk to that one person and give them the best experience they possibly can be. We feel like CrossFit's such an amazing, amazing community. At the same time, the competitors inside the space have kind of left kind of like afloat in the ocean a little bit. Because everything that these people got excited about, which whether it was competing in their class and trying to beat all their buddies, or it was trying to compete in the Open or qualify for an event like this, CrossFit pivoted and goes, hey, we're about getting people off the carbs and off the couch, and this competition thing, like, give it back to the community, let them do their thing. And there's nobody that's kind of like taking the reins and say like, no, like, we're here for you. We're speaking to you. We want this thing to go. This is our passion. This is what we live for. This is what I've dedicated my adult life to, is helping CrossFit competitors. And competitors, if you're a competitor, it doesn't mean you have to sign for an event. A competitor is somebody that competes for better jobs, better relationships, to be a better version of themselves every single day. If you're one of those people, we want to help you. We want to help you get to the next level. We're going to try to, as best as we can, we're investing a lot internally in terms of our team, in coaches, in programming, in infrastructure. We want to revamp what everybody was so excited about in 2012 through 2016, when this thing was on the up trajectory and everyone was coming into this thing, and the rise of Froning, the rise of Fraser, the rise of Katrin, the rise of Tia, and all these people were coming through. We want to take that the whole sport to the next level, as I'm sure you do with Wodapalooza. This is, we are about the CrossFit competitor. We are about the people that you don't need to motivate to get to the gym. We're talking to the freaks. We're talking to people that are coming to an event like this. Yep. CrossFit can go, and I'm really proud of what they're doing. I hope that they do get people off of diabetes medication, take care of the special populations, the elderly, and improve health across the world. We're going to fill the void that was potentially left.
Hell yeah.
I know. I'm like,
I love it.
You can keep going.
I love
you
it.
fire me up. No, I think on that, I'm not in a rush here. That wasn't like a closing, like, tell me what's next. I want to, how do you think this whole change, we don't have to do the whole what do you think of the change thing, but how do you think this stuff now, hey, this has been more validated, as has an event in Iceland and Ireland, is that helping what you're doing?
Change is hard for anybody.
Yep.
And when they announced the changes, the lack of clarity with the announcements, man, that caused a lot of ambiguity, confusion, and skepticism. Maybe a lot of fear about what was going to happen, because people couldn't understand it, and we were getting no direction about what this whole thing was. So we had people in my gym that were on the fringe of qualifying for regionals, that essentially the next day after the announcement, when they said there's going to be no more regionals, it's sanctionals, basically quit the sport. I wish that they hadn't, because that hurts the space, right? Mm-hmm. That lack of information going out is not a good thing for us. In hindsight, with enough space, this was good for everybody. Yep. It's never been easier to get to the CrossFit Games. It's never been more impactful to have an event like Wodapalooza. It's never been more meaningful to have national qualifiers. It's never been better to have these. How many sanctioned events are there now? 25?
Yeah. 25, 26.
That didn't exist before. Before it was the CrossFit Games, regionals, and then essentially there was Wodapalooza. And then there was a bunch of these other local competitions. Well, all those other local competitions have been completely validated. A lot of resources are going into those, which is improving the space massively. this has been an incredible thing for us as CompTrain, as programmers of competitive sport, because people are not just vying for those regional spots and then the 5 spots out of regionals. If you don't qualify for a sanctioned event, like, you go for the next one. If you don't qualify for that one, you go for the next one. If you get to that one and you don't qualify for the games, you go to the next one. It used to be one and done, which was tough. If you have a bad day, if you sprain your ankle the weekend before, if you get the flu, if you get mono, if you get strep throat the day of, your chances of going to the game are almost nil. True. Now, like, you have that, okay, let's go to Wodapalooza. Let's go to the next event. Let's go to the next one. Then they throw the Open to the beginning of the season. Also, like, massive, drastic move, and the Open participation went down drastically when they did that. I don't know the numbers, but I think it went down by about 15%.
Yep.
I think that's lack of awareness that it was even happening because they pulled out all their social. Now it's going to be such a cool thing because there's so much structure to the event. Let's do this online qualifier. The top athletes get pulled off the floor. Now it's fair game. It's a wild, wild west. Who's going to shoot themselves to the championships? It's a beautiful thing. It's a season now that we got to go and, like, there's another one out. There's another one out. Whereas the last year with the craziness of the Open happening, and people didn't even know how you would qualify, and people would qualify for Wodapalooza like 3 months after Wodapalooza because of all the weirdness that was happening. As this thing is shaking out, this is a better thing for the space. It's a better thing for the athletes. It's a better place for us in the place where we are, where we support the athletes.
I think it comes back to what we were talking about early on, community, right? And so you have all of these events which have been, to Ben's point, validated and have grown. Like, WAS has always been really big, but you come here, the feeling of community is incredible. And now there are more opportunities for people around the world to get together, and not even just the athletes, but there's so many people who are here just to participate and be a part of it. So I think it's great for the overall community as well.
If anybody that's listening that hasn't been here, you got to come to Wodapalooza. It's like, this event is insane. It's
February and the sun is out.
It's like 85 degrees, sunshine, and, like, there's thousands of people in every, like, it's an amazing. How many things are going on at once in terms of competition, floors, speaking, seminars?
Am I supposed to know that?
You can.
Lots.
You just guess.
Lots.
No one's going to know whether you're telling the truth or not.
A lot.
There's 9 times.
What time is it?
There's 4 stages live with heats for between 12 and 14 hours, and then there's stage in the back here in the beach where people are educating, thought leadership. There's things like this going on. There's probably at any one moment, at a minimum, 6 like really attendable things going on.
I was telling to somebody yesterday that I think Wodapalooza is what Greg Glassman envisioned the games to be. He envisioned a festival. He envisioned Woodstock of fitness, which is people come together, hang out. There's some fitnessing going on, but it's kind of like the secondary thing. Like right now, and when I came to this last year, particularly because I didn't have any athletes I'm coaching this year, but when I came here last year, I came down and had an amazing, amazing experience. I didn't watch a second of competition. It's like you don't need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I came down here for the entire time, from like opening to close, had so much, never had a moment of downtime, and I never once even saw a competition floor.
You said something to me last year that was really impactful. You said that you could never tell when the elites were going.
You don't need to.
You had no idea, and you never ended up going because
very different than the games.
Yes,
because the games, like when it's happening, like Vendor Village becomes a ghost town. The games are. It's a test for the world's fittest athletes,
right?
It's an incredible test, and it's amazing. And I love the CrossFit Games. I love
you and me both.
The CrossFit 100%. Games. I think it's one of the best, coolest sporting events in the world.
Yep.
It's cool that this is not that, right? It's not supposed to be that.
Nope.
It's what you say. It's. I mean, the tagline, I don't know, but it's something along the lines of like fitness, community, and life. Like that's what when we talk about, like living into your ethos. That's pretty solid.
Celebrate fitness, community, like and that's Guido created that. He spoke last night, and it was he's kind of set my mind right the last 2 years. He started this, and we're now the keepers of that. And he has such a great message with this and what they built. It's wild. I mean, you're involved in the competitive scene as this was growing. ECC was at the same time. Hell, they were back-to-back weekends.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how crazy that was at the time. It was like,
oh, Guido and I used to talk about. I used to like find out when Wadapalooza was, and we'd schedule it the weekend. I don't remember if it was before or after, but we knew it was back-to-back. I think Granite Games was the next weekend. It was like 3 back-to-back-to-back.
ECC was the weekend after Wadapalooza because Guido would come. I did the gauntlet yesterday, so now I'm not a competitor, but I know that was a bad idea. I mean, I'm waiting for the rhabdo tomorrow, which would just be on par with you and I at competitions. You should, there's another story. We could get to that, but no, he would come to ECC and compete because at the time he was an elite competitor.
Yeah, that's right.
And I have no idea how he would do that. Crazy. The dehydration.
No, he's a monster though. He's an individual games athlete.
I think
those guys are a different breed though. Totally. Even that was 5 years ago. Even 5 years ago, they were a different species than the rest of us are, and now it's insanity. What these individuals are capable of at the elite. Forget about the elite level. At the RX level here, they're a different species of human beings than the rest of the people walking around.
Well, you know that, and I don't know the exact stat, but I think the last 2 or 3 years, a winner of our RX division has gone to and had success at the games. Now, I'm talking
That's
in the
insane.
even regional models.
Yeah. Wow.
In the regional model, there was the winner of our RX division then went and won a regional that year. So they didn't even qualify for the elite here.
Wow.
So I was out this morning watching the row because I wanted to sort of get an idea what that was going to look like, and there were guys in the RX division finishing this crazy row workout that we have, and we were didn't know that any of the elites might. And I was game was crazy. Yeah, I mean there's beginners. There's 2,700 people competing. Maybe you should go compete.
Marcus.
I think he was talking to you, Ben.
I know there's some room over on that stage today.
I threw down with Catherine. I threw down with Catherine at the. I did the.
Oh, you did your workout?
I did the CompTrain. Yeah.
How'd that go for you?
We named Miami Heat before we announced it before you guys did.
Oh, we stole it.
Yes.
You want?
It's all right. We didn't trademark it. You can
send me to your lawyers.
So we did. It was. I did it with the same calories as her, so it was 15 calorie ski, 15 calorie bike, 15 calorie row, straight up one time through.
How was that?
I got annihilated.
Well,
I held my own with her, but my fitness got annihilated. I was bent over breathing for 3 minutes, and she's over already taking 50 selfies with people.
Well, you did it last year
I did with Brooke.
With Brooke.
Yeah.
What workout
that
was
it? Death Race.
Oh jeez.
That Death Race was worse.
And that is
Death Race is 5 rounds of assault bike and burpees. It's 10 calorie assault bike for the girls, 15 for the guys, and 15 burpees. But I do the girl version against those guys because they're a different breed. Yeah.
I use
no ego.
Yeah. Oh no, and get ruined. Honestly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. First of all, on a personal note, I couldn't be more grateful for the two of you and the impact you've had on my life and the support here. You have. I came down here to do this last year, and you guys both hopped in and came over and supported, and I really appreciate that. I'm really proud of NOBULL being a partner of our event this year, which is, I think, you partnered with ECC, but really kind of your first big involvement with an event. You're going to be at West Coast Classic in Madrid.
Absolutely.
Which we're super excited about. And Ben, you're going to be involved in Madrid.
Madrid.
Do some programming, maybe for the people of Spain.
Yes. Let's bring it to España.
I'm telling you right now, strap your seatbelt on for that event is going to be wild. I'm telling you right now, that crowd is rabid over there. Yeah. So we'll bring some more of this there.
We'll bring some programming that'll bring the heat.
I like this. It is about a show.
We'll put on a show. That's what it's about. So. Yeah, you got when you think about programming, you got to think of a few different things, and one of them is the entertainment value for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll do what we can to make that as good as possible.
That is, I said that the other night. I wanted just 2 minutes with the athletes before, not to really address anything more than that, which was hey, we want you to look really good. and show your talent and perform. Like, we do not want to hurt you, or like, that's really, I want them to show their talents. I know you do. We've talked so much about this. You've impacted me on that side of things. I mean, I don't program it. But that's the messaging for the people that go in and do it. You know?
And it's great to see. I mean, it's one of these things where there's just so much thought that has gone into everything here at Wodapalooza. Really excited to see West Coast and Madrid fired up.
Well, I can't wait.
You're doing good things, Matt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I don't know how you do it.
Just trying to keep up with the two of you.
Well, you know,
oh, my God.
The funny thing is that it's just like, if we go back to 2013, 2014, or wherever it is that we've all been close, but it's just like, it's been fun to watch you as well, and all the things that you've been doing, and to see you kind of, all the stuff with Loud Live is just phenomenal. Well, absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thanks for all your support. And I've learned a lot from both of you. A couple of mentors as well as friends. So let's keep crushing it.
There we go.
Let's go.
All right. Well, you guys are gonna roll us out. So shut it down somehow.
Shut it down, Ben.
And then push the button.
One funny story about the Italy trip. I remember when you guys were in Italy, because I saw Ben's Easy E.
Oh, easily
that is the way
the
to
microphone, because I am no joke. Tell your mama to get off of my tip. I have no time to get.
There you go. That's it.
I love it. It doesn't get any better than that.
I'm going to hold it and walk around the stage in.
Drop the mic, Ben. Drop the mic.
Good. You go on YouTube and watch that.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, boys.
This was a blast. Thank you.
All right. Great. Cool.